All right. Let me know if you can hear me. It is 4 a.m. here. It's dark out and cold. Um, let's see if we can get some folks on the live stream, and we'll just kind of play this by ear and see how it goes. Let me pull up this here, and let's see. Oh, good. I got some folks here. Let me know if you can hear me okay. Good morning, people. Hope you're well. We're going to dissect this situation together live as best we can. I literally woke up half an hour ago, checked my phone, realized the eruption had begun, and jumped in my car and came up here to my office. And so I haven't had a whole lot of time to dissect a lot of the data, but we'll just do this together. So thanks for joining me and being with me. And I'll try to walk you through as much of this as I can in real time. It'll be a little clunky at times because I'm opening different windows. I'm just juggling a couple things all at once. I'm going to try to pull up some of the live webcams as well. So let's see here. But we have an eruption in Iceland, and we've got some, I guess, somewhat sobering news with some of this because we have the vents opened up a lot closer to town, um, from what I can tell. And so let's go with what we know, and then we'll get to some of the more stuff around the edges, I suppose. So greetings to you all. I'm going to probably dispense from all the shout outs to folks, but appreciate you joining me here. And let's see if we can dissect some of this together. So I think we'll start with there was a flurry of activity. So before I went to bed last night, around 10 o'clock my time, which would have been like 5 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m., somewhere in there, Iceland time, between 9 and 10, my time here, Mountain Standard Time, there was a lot of earthquakes. There was a huge swarm of earthquakes taking place, and I knew something was going to happen soon. But sometimes these things can take a while to evolve over time. And so I'd been watching some of those quakes occur, um, and 4 a.m., 5 a.m. Oops, sorry, I'm getting some feedback. So yeah, so let me just jump in. Sorry, I'm a little scattered here. I just got up. So you can see some of the plots here. This is from the Met Office of the earthquake activity that was taking place, and unfortunately, it was. I noticed this too right away that it was along that same trend, but it was further south. It was further south along the dike system versus what we'd seen um, on November 10th and also on December 18th. And so that wasn't good news for Grindavik. Let's go back to, we're on the Met Office update. So this was their update from 5 a.m. their time, which, yeah, would have been about 10 p.m. my time. And so a series of small earthquakes up to 200. So the earthquakes were coming in fast and furious, and I'll show you some of those here in a second. The biggest one was around a 3.5. Let's see, borehole measurements and real-time GPS also show changes, so it's likely. So it's pretty obvious with those earthquakes that not only was magma moving, um, but it was moving into a newer zone than what we saw December 18th. Had it just progressed through the December 18th plumbing system or pathways, I think the earthquakes would have been somewhat lower than what we actually saw. So whenever we see that many earthquakes, we're breaking more rock, and so it was an indication to me, even though all I could really see was just the earthquakes on my phone. We were watching a sporting event with some friends that the earthquakes were happening further south, and so that was probably indicative of magma pushing its way forward to the south. And because there were so many earthquakes, I wondered if maybe it was widening out the channel or the dike a little bit because so much seismic activity was taking place. The next update from the Met Office about an hour later, the seismic activity continues to move south, and more earthquakes have been recorded in Grindavik in the last hour. The seismic activity and changes on the GPS station are comparable to what was seen on the eve of December 18th, so a similar event in terms of all the precursor activity. Main difference now and then is the seismicity is considerably further south. Yeah, so that jives exactly. And I'm reading this for the first time with you, so nothing here is. I've opened a couple windows here, but I haven't looked or digested anything. So this is live, cutting edge science unfolding, I suppose, right before your eyes. Based on the development of the seismic activity, it's not possible to exclude the scenario that magma will arise within the town limits of Grindavik. And so let's just pause right there and put the real human element to this. And so the good news, if there is a little bit of a silver lining here, it's yesterday, just after my live stream, or just as it was, I guess, just after it started, we received word that they'd closed the town down. So they had evacuated the town. So the good news here is that people are out of harm's way. And I think that's the most important thing to think about. So while we have an eruption, and many of us are excited to see eruptions, um, we've got an eruption that's this time it definitely looks like it's going to impact the town in some way, shape, or form. But the good news is we've got people out of harm's way. The bad news, of course, is this is a town. These are people's homes. These are people's livelihoods. And then the other unfortunate thing, and let's just maybe, I think it'll show up here as we move up the, yeah, here we go. Let's go to the most recent Met Office update. And so this is maybe the most compelling graphic so far. Again, just looking at it here. So here's Thorbjorn, the hill just to the north of Grindavik. So Grindavik is just south of this map right here. There's the road heading north and south. The orange line there is the berm that they had been working on, that they were constructing. And unfortunately, according to this data, the fissure, the vent of this volcano has broken open on both sides of that. And so if this pumps out lava continuously, the berm isn't going to make much of a difference because the lava will spill out towards the south. The berm's been breached by the fissure. You can see the edge of the purple up here in the top is the December 18th lava flow and lava field. So we're just south and southeast of Hagafeld, this hill right here. So it's much further south, probably maybe a couple kilometers south of the vents that opened up on December 18th. So that's it's grim in terms of looking at Grindavik. Here's a photo they took from the helicopter. You can see the town in the background there, and then there's the berm. So there's, I think that's the greenhouse just to the north of town right here. And then you can see the fissure where it's opened up. That's obviously the bright glow, I believe. And then that looks like the berm there. And so, you know, we're looking at maybe a kilometer or less in terms of distance to get it into town. Another view there of the fissure, and this is probably again just, you know, within a half hour I would guess or so of the fissure opening up. But let's read through this is the latest update, so we're pretty much caught up to speed now. So this was as of 8:47, so that was what, maybe about 2 hours ago. So the eruption started at about 8 a.m. local time. So that would have been, let's see, it's 4 p. I got to do the math backwards. Yeah, so yeah, 8 a.m. there's 1 a. So 1 a.m. here, Mountain Standard Time. The first estimate of the location is southeast of Hagafeld. A crack has opened up on both sides of the defenses that had begun to have been built north of Grindavik. Judging by the pictures, lava is now flowing towards Grindavik. Based on measurements from the helicopter, the perimeter is now about 450 meters from the northernmost houses in the town. So it's less than a kilometer from some of those homes in the town there. Maybe switch over to this view really quick. So, and I don't know if it would help. Well, we'll just stick with this view with north up for a second here. So here's Hagafeld. This is the other hill to the to the west, Thorbjorn. There's the greenhouse, I believe, right there. And here's some of the houses right here. And so I haven't had time to, put the fissure on here, but it's pretty much pretty close to this yellow patch of ground, um, more or less at the southern end of this Sunnuks Giga crater system, this older crater system. Remember that our first eruptive um, in December 18th eruption, and I've lost a lot of the little things I added on my Google Earth. I don't think I saved them all the way. I'll have to add those later. But those occurred up here. So we had those first set of eruptions in this area, but now we're seeing the eruption maybe a couple kilometers to the south. And so really it's just a matter of how much it, if and not even if, but when, should there be enough lava to erupt, how quickly will it progress down towards these first set of homes here? And then the harbor isn't much further. So if we just give it a little bit of a run here in terms of just distance. So if let's say it's more or less here, yeah, it's maybe a kilometer and a half from, and maybe it's closer than that. They said it was what, 450 kilometers or 450 meters, excuse me, to the first set of houses. So that would put it, gosh, that's a lot closer maybe. So maybe those fissures, the vents have opened up over on this side. So, I mean, we're really unfortunately witnessing a bit of a tragedy here in terms of, and we, we've known this was a high possibility for some time. Let's see, I've got a couple people. So then again, I'm a little helter skelter here. So thanks for sticking with me. But I've got a few people messaging me information. So, sorry, I got two windows open here. Let's see. So, a viewer, Rick Steckler, is in Iceland. Says, first thing he sent me early this morning. I imagine you heard the volcanoes erupting. I'm on the outskirts of Reykjavik, headed toward there now. I was going there anyway at some point today because I'm supposed to be flying out, but I may change my flight plans. We'll see. He said he'd get as close as he could. Then he said he couldn't get very close, but I'll send you some pictures of what I could get. And he was headed back to Reykjavik to book a helicopter flight for this afternoon. He's going to change his flight until tomorrow, Tuesday, but he did send me a couple pictures. So let me just share a few of those with you. And of course, some of these it looks like while he was driving. So some of these aren't awesome, but we appreciate him for sending them. So thank you, Rick. Oh, what did I just do there? Let's go back into those photos. There we go. So you can see sort of the glow there from the road coming out of probably Reykjavik there. Yeah, so there it is, kind of lighting up the early morning sky. Let's see what else we have here. That one. Yeah, so he's got a few pictures from the distance of the eruption there. I haven't heard much from Amanda Joe, and she's obviously probably shaken and has a lot on her mind, so I'm not expecting anything from her. She sent me something early at 1 a.m. my time that just said eruption, and I just let her know that wanted to see if she was okay, letting her know I was coming in to the office to do a live stream. That was a couple hours ago that I texted her back, but I'm not expecting to hear much from her because she's probably got a lot on her plate. They have a home in Grindavik, and so we'll see how this plays out for them. Okay, so let's see. Okay. Oh, let's look at the, well, let's go back to, yeah, the webcams are pretty nice here. So these are showing the eruption as it's unfolding. And so this top left camera is looking to the west. And we can read that obviously. So this is from over towards the Fagradalsfjall area looking to the west. So the power plant's probably back over here. Maybe it's back in the distance there. Um, Not totally sure. You can see some of the eruptive activity. This is from some distance away, but you can see some of the fire fountaining as the lava is pushed out of the vent. The best one here is this one of Thorbjorn looking. This one's looking to the east or southeast towards Hagafeld, and this one is, you can see there. That's probably the greenhouse right there, and you can see the lava encroaching upon it. I'm going to open another window on another over here and see if I can find just that one webcam, because that's probably the most telling. And then of course, the bottom right is the earthquake one. And last night this thing was just a sea of yellow, bright yellow. I do also need to mention that I got in touch with the NatureEye drone individuals. They're trying to get close to the town so they can put up a drone. So I may, if I end up cutting out this live stream and maybe starting another one, or maybe I can just continue this one. I'll have to see what he'll let me do. That might be easiest. We may be switching over to a live stream. And he says, this is again the NatureEye folks. They're sort of in a media convoy that's getting closer. The convoy's moving in. I will give you a heads up here when we're a few minutes from launch. So let me text him back really quick. And then let's see if we can get a good view on that. The lighting's actually pretty nice. It's early morning there, but you can see some of the incandescent glow. But then we can still see the terrain features there because it's morning now. Okay, sorry with the lull here. To my Okay, let's see. So let's see if I can find that that one camera. I'm sure some of you know how to do this a little better than I do. Let's do it this way. I think this is a better way to find them. And then I want to walk you through in a second here some of the earthquake data as well. Okay, here we go. This is what I was looking for. I got to find the right camera. Where is the right camera? Okay, well here you go. This is probably the view we all wanted, was this view here. Gosh, so that's, yeah, it's mixed emotions for me, because on one hand that's an exciting, awesome, aesthetically pleasing eruption, but then when you see, infrastructure and a community just barely out of view there to the right at the same time, it's a bit sobering as well. Let's see. But I'll just continue to provide as much commentary as I can here in the meantime. So let me take you quick to the Google Earth view, just to give you a perception of exactly where we are. So that webcam is located up on this hill. So if we swing around this way and then drop down and change the view a little bit that way, I mean, essentially you're looking more or less at this view. That's the greenhouse there. The eruption is taking place more or less in this region here. We've got lava on one side of the greenhouse and some lava on the other side. And, it's probably just a matter of time for that lava to progress downslope into this area here. And so this is, I mean, now that the vent has opened up and the lava is on the ground, it's not much of a guessing game as to where that lava is going to go. This is a more or less a straight shot between these two hills to the south and into the town and towards the harbor. And this could take some time, but we'll have to see. So there's I mean, I don't really need to say a whole lot when you look at this, but we can see that it's already starting to build up in terms of the eruption, a bit of a spatter ramparts. You can see some of the edges where this fire fountaining is going on. It's building up. That lava is falling back down around the vent, and it's building up. Not really a cone because it's not taking place around a one conduit, but around this fracture. So you're getting this sort of ridge or levee on both sides. That's what we call a spatter rampart, and that's feeding these flows. Now, these flows can be sluggish depending on the topography and the viscosity. But just in looking at those, I mean, those are probably, gosh, what's a good rate of movement on some of these flows? They probably are moving half a kilometer an hour, maybe faster than that. It is slope topography, but it's not super steep. And it looks like the leading edge is just beyond the greenhouse over here. You can see some of where where some of that steam or gas is coming out right there, the leading edge. And then we can, of course, can see the incandescent areas. There's the road right there in the foreground. So the road is already gone that runs north-south out of Grindavik. Yeah, just pretty remarkable. Let me walk you through the earthquakes really quick. We'll come back to this because I think this is the main thing to focus on. Oh, the camera's panning now. Let's stay with the camera for a second. So it's going to pan back up to the north, so we can see the extent of the system, right? So we've got a sizable vent here. I mean, more or less, this fracture is continuous, and maybe we can get a sense of the length of it here. So you can see some of the flows are heading to the west and the east, but again, that regional slope is all down to the south, and so I'd expect a lot of it to advance that in that direction. That's a long, that could be, that looks like at least a kilometer, perhaps. I mean, it really looks a lot like what we saw on December 18th, just my first take on it in terms of, now that was a longer fissure, but just in terms of productivity. Some of these fountains are probably pushing maybe 100 meters, 300 feet. Yeah, so there's the northernmost vent there. And this is, and you can see some of these lava flows encroaching upon, flowing out here to the west, where some of this smoke is down here. All right, from my drone friends at NatureEye, yeah, they're at the power plant and almost at the eruption. They've been given permission to fly, so we will go, and it will happen in the next short while. So stay with me, folks. And I mean, this is again bittersweet but exciting that I should be able to get a drone off the ground here in the next little bit, and we should be able to fly around and check this out. Okay, ready when you are. Let me just send him a quick. Ready when you are. And I'll try to, I mean, I can see the chats going on. I'll try to glance over at that every now and then. Um, yeah, all the residents. So to reiterate, I guess some of you might be joining me just now. As far as I am aware, all the residents have been evacuated. They actually evacuated the town yesterday, not because they knew there was an eruption that was going to take place today, but because with the gentleman that fell down the crack a few days ago, I believe that might have been Wednesday, they decided that, hey, we probably just need to reassess the risk in the town with all these fractures and cracks in the ground. They'd let the residents back in for a period of time. And so yesterday or 2 days ago, I can't remember now, early in the morning here, they agreed to actually evacuate those folks completely out of the town and then make a new risk assessment. And again, the silver lining all this is that the timing worked out great in that sense, right? Now that we can see what the eruption became, we can look back and say, wow, how fortuitous was it that we were able to completely evacuate the town yesterday? I mean, because you could imagine if the town still had Well, it wouldn't have been fully occupied. I mean, if it was fully occupied and you had almost 4,000 people there with the north-south road cut off and this thing happening right now, that's almost a nightmarish scenario. But luckily, um, we had it worked out the way it did. It's unfortunate that it's so close to town. I think a lot of people were hoping that, hey, if it's like the December 18th eruption in that area, that's okay. Or if it pushes further to the north a bit or to the east, those were all better scenarios than what we're seeing playing out now. And now it's just a case of how long will it erupt? How much lava will be pumped to the surface? Um, and if it's got the volume that it did on December 18th, when when will that lava encroach upon other parts of the town? Um, so let me, yeah. And then when I hear from someone like Amanda Joe, or I guess I got Rick on the ground now as well, I'll let you know as soon as I get some of that information going. Um, yeah, so yeah, if you can hit the like button, that would be great for this live stream, just to help promote. What we want to do, I think, is there's going to be a lot of sensationalism with this, and my approach is always to treat this kind of in a level-headed, objective way. That's just my scientific background. Just use reasoning. Um, this is, this is what happens in Iceland. This is we've seen. I guess this is our fifth eruption now in this region in a little over 3 years. It's probably a little sign of what's to come in the future. The reason this one is again so much more sobering than the previous four eruptions is this one. You can see it right there on the screen. It's going to impact. It already has impacted infrastructure. It already just took out part of the road. The road north out of Grindavik, a road that goes from Grindavik towards the Blue Lagoon, is completely compromised. Now, I should say that as far as I can tell, looking at this, um, it doesn't look like there's any. The Blue Lagoon and the power plant are further uphill and upslope that I don't think they will be impacted. I don't think the vents might run a little bit north of Hagafeld, but they do have that berm right across this area here. So as far as I can tell, and again, this is just my take on the situation, I don't think that there's a risk right now of any impacts to the power plant in the Blue Lagoon. But the bigger issue here is this community and this town. I think just the course of us watching this flow, I think when we started this webcam feed, it was about halfway across the greenhouse, and now you can see it advancing and getting close to this other part of the road, and it's actually moved past the greenhouse. So this can evolve pretty quickly. I mean, just during this live stream over the next, however long we're together here, 30 minutes, hour and a half, we could be watching this play out in a really uh, profound way. And then, of course, if I get the go ahead to get the drone up, it looks like they've been given permission to fly, so that's great. I don't know if we have any flight restrictions, but they're at the power plant, and so we presumably would be launching from somewhere over here in this area. And I imagine we could either fly, because we have to maintain some level of line of sight, we could either fly, excuse me, south, just to the west of Hagafeld, or we could fly to the north of it and get a really good view of the eruption. Um, Again, the flow front is just about, there's a tongue of it in front of the greenhouse, a tongue of it coming behind. And so just kind of looking at the webcam and then going back to this view here, yeah, we're probably a half a kilometer or less from some of these homes on the north end of Grindavik. So again, it's so weird. I have such conflicting emotions because on one hand, this is a great eruption and it's exciting, and I am excited, but there's still this like this kind of pit in the the pit of my stomach is sort of flipping over and churning a bit because of this pretty little town and the people that live there, and some of which now I know. Let's see. Yeah, let me look. So I'm looking at the chat now. Someone asked, where is the berm? I think most of the berm's been compromised at this point. There's probably parts of it left, but the best way to see what happened with the berm is to go back to this. That's the fissure right here, that red line, and that's the berm coming across it. So it's really hard to see the berm. Where did my webcam? There we go. Um, yeah, I can't see it anywhere in there. I'm sure it's just hard to see with some of the gas coming out and such. But presumably it would be across here. Yeah, so you can't really tell. So, and in this, I mean, it just, it was worth a try, right? They were hoping that if the vent opened up on the north side of the berm might have diverted the flows a bit to the east. And it's just unfortunate that they had a vent open up. The southern end of this vent system, these fissure systems, opened up on the inside of the berm. And so now, and they realize that. It looks like the flow is just getting to the road now. Someone says, oh, the berm's protecting the greenhouse at the moment. Yeah, so that makes sense. There could be a little piece of it that's it's splitting the flow lobes here. Um, but they're likely to move towards each other, and this little neck of land with the greenhouse, that's likely to get pinched off a little bit. But you can see they're actually panning the camera a little bit further to the right because we can see that the flow is advancing back across the road. So the leading edge of the flow, and I think it's moving a lot quicker. I can actually see in the main lava channel, it's moving fairly swiftly. Yeah, thanks everyone for jumping on. If you're just getting here, it's about 4:30 in the morning here, Mountain Standard Time. Um, we just had a wallop of a snowstorm last night. It's also my wife and I's anniversary today, so I woke her up at 3:30 in the morning and said I'm going to do a live stream. Happy anniversary, and told her that I ordered a volcanic eruption for her. Um, she just muttered something and went back to sleep. Yeah, you can really see that lava flow progressing. Looks like a car's just pulled up near the greenhouse, an emergency vehicle with some lights on. Um, Gosh, you can really, I mean, this thing's really moving. It's really advancing. We probably could do, if I probably was less distracted, you could do some back of the envelope calculations, get the length of the greenhouse, watch as it moves from one end of the greenhouse across, and figure out the flow rate. But I mean, we just watched it take out this portion of the road. Looks like it's coming across the road here. So you can see it's advancing. There's lobes and channels of this flow that are coming out to the west. But because the slope is steepest to the south, it's advancing fastest to the south. That may be part of the, if you look just in this area here, the flow, there's like a clear drop there, and I wonder if that's part of the berm there, that the lava is going over the top of the berm. It is slowing it down a little bit, um, versus you've got a clear channel here. This is probably where the breach, it might have been where the breach in the berm was. I'm not sure. I'm just kind of spitballing here. Um, but this is the real fast moving flow right now. You can see this thing really advancing. It's pretty much going straight down the road. And so if we kind of just look at where this thing's going to go, um, more or less kind of mimic it a bit. So the next thing, so we've got this flow that's coming in this direction here. It looks like there's another building or bit of infrastructure here, and then you get into the housing area. And so we're definitely getting closer to that housing area. It's really advancing quickly. Yeah, and I imagine at some point they'll pan back up to show the rest of the fissure, but this is kind of where the action is right here. Probably in the next few minutes, whatever's left of the road is going to be completely taken out, and you won't be able to see any of the road here within the next few minutes. We've got this portion with this lobe taken out. Remember too, with the colors of the lava can be instructive. So the brighter the orange, the faster or the hotter it is, and so the faster it's moving. You can actually see in this little channel right here, you can see some little clots of black lava kind of flowing down. So if you have a big enough screen you're watching this on, you can probably see that. It's showing up on my monitor pretty nicely. Oh, you can zoom on this thing. Oh my gosh, there we go. I forgot I could do the zoom. You can just zoom a little bit. So that's pretty nice. We can actually see, yeah, there's a little bit of a little drop there, a little steeper gradient, and so you can see some black clots of lava pouring over that little section right there. This lobe is advancing kind of to the southwest. We've got this lobe here, and you can really see the lava moving through this channel. So the flow rate's pretty high. What else can we see here? Yeah, so I mean, but you never know how these things turn out. I remember in the 2018 eruption in Hawaii, which was historic on so many levels. It took out a lot of houses, but there was one house that just the lava just managed to flow around it. The house wasn't even on like much of a hill, just the way the lava moved around it. It was like the only house spared, and I think they called it for a while like the Miracle House, or they had some fun little moniker for that specific home. Zoom back out here. But yeah, now you can see the parts of the road gone. They're going to have to move the camera over to the right a little bit more as it keeps progressing to the south. Someone's saying, let me read through some of the things you guys are saying because you guys are probably sharing good information. They started the operation to save all the heavy equipment that was used for the berm. Yeah, so that makes sense. They mobilized a lot of that machinery to get it out of the way once they realized the eruption. Once the eruption starts, I mean, you just got to get out of harm's way, and then it's just a wait and see game. I'm going to look at these. Yeah, there's some fast moving channels right there. I mean, it doesn't look like this particular tongue of lava is moving to the east towards the power plant. We have a real active channel. A lot of times these lava channels build up levees along the sides of the channel, and so that kind of keeps the flow advancing in one direction. And so it may, we'll have to see. The greenhouse, is definitely in the crosshairs, but it could take a while before we get any of the lava moving towards that structure. Yeah, people are saying that so far the berm's done its job with the greenhouse. I mean, these structures to some degree that we put in place, that I think it's helpful as a mindset. It feels like we're actively mitigating the hazard, and sometimes they can work out, but ultimately you're just at the whim of where this thing erupts. There's part of the road down there. Maybe that's a different road then. I was assuming. Let me look at the Google Earth view again. Um, let's swing around this way. No, I'm pretty sure that's the main road that we saw taken out. That little car we saw in a little road, I wonder if that's a little secondary road at the base of the hill here. That might be what that is there. Yeah, and looks like there's a lot of people on the chat. Let's make sure we're just all being respectful and such. Um, I don't have any moderators on there. So let's just make sure people hopefully are being respectful, especially to the folks in Iceland. This is a stressful situation for them, not something to take lightly. Um, we're talking about people's homes, people's livelihoods, maybe people who've been in this area for generations. Yeah, and that may be part of the berm coming across right here. And so it is slowing down the lava for sure. And then I wonder if this tongue actually breached the berm or did it come through the gap where the road is? Not quite sure on that. Let me take you to, I know this is good stuff here, but let me take you quickly to the earthquake data, which is pretty interesting. So this is this is if you've been following my updates, you know that the last few days, a 24-hour plot of the earthquakes, we saw maybe, anywhere from 20 to 30 or so quakes, and this is the last 24 hours. If we look at just the last, you know, there's the last 30 minutes, nothing, because now that the pathway's open, right? There's not a lot of rocks breaking. So even there's the last hour, just not a whole lot of earthquakes happening in this area. But as we start to add more time, so like 2 hours, not much more. And then if we go back, I guess this eruption now has been going on, I don't know, maybe like 6 hours or so. And then you can see, and again, unfortunately, the lion's share of these quakes are further to the south. And a lot of these, I don't know how this will play out, but in seeing some of these bigger magnitude twos and almost threes, there's a 3.5 all the way into town here. Um, there's still a chance that this thing could increase and lengthen and possibly lengthen into town. Again, that's just a thought there. Let's go back 12 hours and see. Yeah, so 12 hours, 6 hours. I'm just kind of seeing if there's like a pattern to where the quakes are happening time-wise. I mean, it definitely just looks like, yeah, the bulk of them are from Hagafelt, and then further into town. And it does appear that this magma has followed the pathway that was set up on December 18th, that same dike, but instead of breaking through those partially solidified rocks from that eruptive event, it's pushed through further to the south. It found an easier pathway. Undoubtedly, some of these cracks and openings in and around Grindavik have probably played a role here as well. Um, so let's go back to the view here. Someone's saying that that's not the main road. The road on the right is just to the greenhouse. The main road is in the foreground. Okay, so that makes sense. Thank you for that. So the main highway is down here at the bottom right corner. I guess you guys probably can't quite see that with my mug there. So let me shrink myself down a bit. So there's the main road, and then this was just some little secondary road. I kind of want to see that on. Um, is it this road? Or is there, or I wonder if it might be one of these other roads. I'm trying to get the perspective on it. I mean, there's that road into the greenhouse, so I'm not sure what this road was. Maybe it's a newer road. Oh, you know what it is? I bet it's a newer construction road for building the berm. That makes perfect sense. So, um, yeah, the well that they built is in front of the greenhouse from the camera's point of view. You can literally see the wall behind the first batch of lava. Oh, okay. Okay. So thank you. So thank you for sharing that. So that's the berm right there. That's what's keeping this flow. Okay. So I think I've got it now. Thanks, team. I should have looked earlier at the chat, but it's coming in fast and furious. So we've got this berm here. Um, that's protecting the greenhouse for now. Looks like lava's come in around the backside, perhaps, of it. And then this berm is actually providing a channel, a pathway for this lava to flow, I guess, sort of to the southwest. And eventually it'll get down here. It'll get down to the road where they have the breach. The question is, I wonder if they've worked on filling the breach in where the road was, because they would have had enough time, because that would keep this part of the flow going around the whole structure. So that's a possibility. Let's see. It might be drone time here, team. Okay, so I'm gonna switch over to. I gotta open another window here. I'll let you guys keep looking at that while I work on getting. Sorry, I'm just getting set up here on the NatureEye site. And let's see, I'm trying to go back and forth between my phone. Not good at multitasking. Okay. So we should be able to launch pretty soon here and fly over this. We might be hearing from a drone operator, probably Johan. 518995. Whoops. So bear with me while I get this set up. It's flight booked. Let's see, I got to see if they've got the date set up. That's not what I want. Okay, we're almost ready here. And let's see, one more. Oh, so this person's drawn. So I got a email from Michael. This is his. He sent me some pictures of. This is where the berm is. You can see the greenhouse right here. So this picture was taken earlier, but the green line's the berm just above the greenhouse. So those are some nice photos there. Okay, so that makes more sense. Thanks for explaining that to me. And let's see. Okay, so I should be getting an email here. We should be getting the drone launched here in the next minute or two. So thanks for bearing with me. Just waiting for an email to come across. Get a quick drink of water. But you can really see there we go, there's the email. The flow that's advanced along the berm here that's taken out that construction road. Let me text him really quick. Sorry about all the dead space here, team. As you were. Says, all right, I'm just trying to get connected to the NatureEye site to get the drone up and going. They're panning out a little bit there. It looks like on the webcam, and now it looks like there's some people down on the road right there, bottom right corner. Hopefully, I'm not in the way there. Yeah, you can see them right there. Maybe just little tiny specks. And yeah, it's moving pretty quickly. So it'll be interesting to see when it gets to the end of the berm what they've got going on. They're closing the road to Grindavik with the machinery at the moment, someone's saying. So yeah, they're probably trying to board things up a little bit. All right, maybe we got the... We're close here, team. Let's see. Right now it's not letting me in to do the flight thing. So Amanda Jo just told me she was out pretty late last night, just woke up, so I'm glad she's well. She'll probably be sending me some info here. So we're kind of juggling the webcam and news from the ground and the drone flight that hopefully is going to happen pretty soon. Yeah, so it's moving along the berm there. It'd be interesting to know. I mean, yeah, we're seeing lava on the north side of the berm, excuse me, the south side of the berm because it opened up on that side. So these lava flows that we're seeing near the greenhouse on the other side are because the vent opened up on both sides of the berm. But it looks like the berm more or less runs across this little view here. I think at some point it swings around to the south. There's like a little hook on it. So a little closer view there. And again, you can see, I mean, it's just really pumping through that channel. It's always slower at the leading edge where it fans out. So it's going to be slower there. The lava's a little bit more viscous and solidified at that point. Okay, so he's saying try the link again to... Okay, so we might be getting the drone up here, friends. So let me. Hello, can you hear me? Hello, Johan. It's Shawn. I can hear. Can you hear me? I hear Graham. Hello. Good. Oh, it's fabulous, my friend. It's a little bittersweet though, because it's so close to the town. Yeah. Okay, so we've already taken off then, right? Okay, and any restrictions I need to know about in terms of flying around or okay. That always works too. Okay, thank you. All right, so I am controlling the drone now remotely from Idaho. This is pretty incredible. And again, this is with NatureEye. And I'll be sure to include, if you want to try this on your own, there's a code they provided me that you can use to get 10% off if you want to do something like this. So let's see if we can swing around here and get some perspective. Wow, this is just amazing. You can see the big blocks of lava coming out of the channel there. Um, go up a little bit. Okay, thank you. So yeah, so now I've got control. Sorry, thought I had that earlier. So I think we're looking to the east there. What I want to do is swing around to the south. That's probably a little too close. Sorry, team. Just trying to get used to some of the controls again. There we go. So there's a nice view of the fissure. We can see some of the flows coming out from that. I think we're moving, yeah, this is up to the north end of the fissure here, north of Hagafeld. Just fantastic there. And you can just see it fountaining, right? Like it's just the gases coming up with the lava propelling it up into the air. That's all falling down as lava spatter, and that's feeding some of these flows that are emanating out a bit. So Johan's got control at the moment, which is great because we're getting a little better cinematography. And if we could pan down towards the town, that would be cool too, Johan. Maybe look down the length of this thing. So we're kind of moving to the northeast here. So that looks like that's the northernmost vent. Yeah, he's kind of taking us around to the top of this here and then swinging around. Yeah, you can see the town there. Yeah, that's beautiful. Wow. Yeah, I would guess that's at least a kilometer long, maybe two, just looking at it. Get a picture of that. Yeah, it's a little bit pixelated right there, but still, I mean, the fact that they're able to do this, the technology is pretty incredible. So here we are just parked by this vent, building up a little bit of a spatter cone. So this one in the foreground, um, the lava is coming out of more or less one centralized vent. So as that lava falls down on either side, that builds up this cone, this spatter cone on either side. Um, wow, now we're flying right over this thing. This is great. Fantastic. So we've got this one little isolated vent at the north end, and then it looks like it's a little bit offset. So it's a bit of a what we call an N echelon pattern between this vent and then the next one that picks up to the southeast. And then we've got this line of vents, and we've got some spatter ramparts building up on either side of this that goes all the way down this way to the southwest. Yeah, and if you're just joining me, welcome. Got up early to come jump on the eruption here. We've been live streaming for about an hour and operating the drone here, the NatureEye drone, over this new flow field just north of Grindavik. Good news is the town's evacuated, and the bad news is the location of these vents is very close to the town. And as this eruption continues, the lava is likely to encroach upon the north part of the town. We'll just have to see how that plays out and um, how widespread the damage may be. But terrific view there of the vent, the lava just fountaining, just that spatter shooting up into the sky, falling back down around the vent. Um, some of the things I've showed in some of my recent videos, like a glutinate, this is how a glutinate forms, where the spatter just lava just falls down out of the sky and builds up these mats along the flank of the vent. And then you can see it feeding these flows here where it's still quite hot, and all that lava is coalescing to feed these flows that are unfortunately flowing mainly to the south, a little bit to the east and west, but mainly to the south and towards uh, the town, unfortunately. A little bit of another step over here in the fissure system, so another little N echelon pattern here. You can see it jump over here to the southeast for this next line of fissures. Big lava field here in the foreground, just below the fissures. And then you can see one of the ships out there in the distance, and the probably one of the Coast Guard ships. And now we're starting to see more of the town. We're looking at the eastern part of the town here. I mean, pretty surreal. Like, just I think I've envisioned that this scenario was possible, but never really thought it would play out exactly like this. So not really surprised per se, but it's just kind of an odd scene to see this spectacular eruption, but then to see this lovely little town in the background. And now we're heading down to the southwest end of the vent. Yeah, thanks for taking some of those photos there, Johan. I mean, this section is very active. I mean, you can see how bright orange it is. So this is a very hot section of the fissure system where, and you can see the lava. I mean, the whole surface is kind of rippling. Um, it's very hot, it's very fluid, and with that much coming out, that's feeding these flows that are, you got these several active channels that are headed to the south. This is, I think this is the berm right here that we're crossing. So the vent opened up on either side of the protective berm. I believe that's what this is, this black little line coming across here. Yeah, that's the berm, because you can see it pass just to the north of the greenhouse there. And then we have this big flow here that's on one side of the berm, but then another active flow that's heading to the south. Oh, is that another vent way down there, Johan? Can we fly over? I don't know if that's too far away, but there's another vent opened much closer to town. Can we go take a look at that, I wonder? Beyond this flow field, there's a small vent that's opened up where that little plume of gas is coming out that's like really close to town. But you can see these active channels here. But that looks like a vent that's opened up in town. And there's a lot of, and even looking down into town, it looks like there's gas coming out of the ground over here. So we may be watching the whole system propagating to the south, and these vents opening up in town, in the town proper. Yeah, that's another vent that's opened up there that's separate from the main fissure system. And then look at this line of gases over here along the right edge that's just sort of coming out of the ground. Yeah, can we get a little closer to that? Holy cow. And that looks like that, I mean, there's no lava flows associated with that. That looks like that just opened up in the last few minutes, I would guess. And that's only a few, I mean, that's what, maybe a couple hundred meters from these homes. Oh boy. Wow. Yeah, if we could get some pictures of that, Johan. I mean, you can see, so look at the cracks in the ground. And this is commonly what happens first is the gases are going to come out first because they're above at the leading edge of the lava flow. Um, oh, wow. That's tremendous. This is such a great view. Yeah, if we could keep an eye on that little one there. Yeah, look, it's already lengthened. So we're watching this thing get bigger right now. This little fissure has lengthened in just the last minute or two. And as you watch this left side, that that gas plume will probably transition into lava here in the next few minutes, because the gases will come out first of the fracture, and then the lava will follow. See, there it is. There's the lava coming out the left side right there. Wow. That's incredible. We just watched this fissure open up. It was just a little blip in the distance, and now it looks like it's extended. It's probably, 100 meters long, maybe or so. I don't know. And it's getting longer. And then now it's starting to feed its own little lava field. So now we're seeing the flows emanating out from this fissure and spilling out on the ground. There was some steam coming up, kind of, I guess it would almost be underneath us there, Johan, if you can, yeah, look back that way. As we approach this area, there was another little line of steam coming out. So that's feeding a flow field right now, and we've got these homes right here. Probably that might only be 100 meters or so away, maybe 200. Quite close. So we got the main flow field there, but it's interesting. I mean, we'll have to see if this links up with the rest of the system. It's already lengthening as we're watching it right here live. Incredible. And will that propagate further to the south? Hard to say. But I kind of called it there when I showed you where the gases were coming out. The cracks will open up first. You'll get a surge of gases rising through those cracks, and then the lava will soon follow. So that's a nice view there of, now this isn't producing a ton of lava. This is kind of a wimpy little fissure. You can see a lobe of it following this little valley right here on the left side. So that little lobe is following this little gully or depression in the topography. And then we've got the lobe on the right is just going down the more general slope towards the town. Great views there. Excellent flying, Johan. Appreciate it. This is much better than me flying it in a clunky way in terms of getting the good views. And is it possible to look straight down with the camera? I just thought I had seen earlier like some of the gases coming out a little bit to the west of this location. And you can see on the map just there just how close we are to those homes. Can't tell if it's really lengthening a little bit. Yeah, and at some point we'll have to get the drone back because the battery will run out, but for now this is amazing footage. Yeah, I mean, if this fissure, even if with this fissure's relatively low output, if this were to keep up for, I don't know, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, I think you'd see a lot of this lava, progressing and getting much closer to these homes, unfortunately. But we basically saw this thing. We saw it from the distance, and then we saw it was just a sort of a centralized little plume, and then we saw it progress and get longer during the flight. And it might be lengthening a little bit on the north side. I can't quite tell. The scale's tricky. Yeah, there's that nice little lobe. That flow is going to fill that depression right there. And so it might take a while for it to actually fill up the depression and then climb out of it. You can see some of the other cracks in the moss as well. Beautiful, just amazing footage there. Yeah, it's filling in that depression. Yeah, maybe head up to this side of it. Maybe you're heading back, Johan. Can we look back towards the town real quick? Is that possible? He's getting us a good shot of the fissure system there. We got to head low battery, so we got to head back here. We'll have to see what they say. We might be able to throw another battery in and do another flight. But wow, you just can't beat these views. I'm just sort of speechless. There's the power plant. There's the highway to the west. There's the construction road. This part of the flow is a little bit more stalled out. You can see it's not moving as quickly. There's some folks along the road. And that's where we're landing. That's where our crew is right there. So we'll see if we can get another battery put in and then maybe take off again. I'll leave this on for a minute just because it's a nice view, and then I might switch back over to the webcam view. The webcam's up on that hill just above the cars there, looking back towards us. But these are, I guess, some of the media folks, some of the drone operators. So we'll switch over to the live view here. from the webcam. Yeah, not nearly as good, right, as the drone footage. The drone footage was pretty awesome. And Johan, if you have a chance and can hear me, uh, maybe unmute when you get a chance and let me know if we're going to do another run out there. I'd really like to fly back down to that south end if we can, closest to town. And if you have other flights to do, just let me know too. That's fine. Let's see if we zoom back out. There we go. That's a little better view than what I had. So that's that. It looks like they've got it. That's the south one right there. That's the one we saw sort of develop, and it has lengthened. So it's lengthening to the north more than the south, I would say. There's the house that's really close, and we'll see if this lengthens enough that it more or less joins um, the fissure system to the on the north end. But thanks again for joining me, folks. This is the live footage of the eruption in Iceland with geology professor Shawn Willsey. We just did a drone flight over the area with NatureEye, and I'll be sure in the video description when I get a chance here, I'll put a code you can put in if you want to operate one of their drones. They obviously have drones in Iceland, but also in other parts of the world where you can remotely operate the drone, fly it around yourself, take pictures. It's real easy to learn just sitting on your computer keyboard. But we're looking here at a fissure that opened up just to, well, further south than the main set of fissures and just north, just a few, maybe 100 or so meters north of the northernmost homes near Grindavik. And these flows are headed down to the south. So these, unfortunately, are moving a bit towards the town. Um, okay, it looks like we're doing another flight. So great. Hello. Okay. Johan, that was amazing. Thank you for that great flight. Okay, thank you. Not seeing anything yet on the camera. Oh, Jonathan's got it right now. Yeah, looks like we got a full battery. So let me know when I've got it. Okay. Are we good to go? I'm ready to go when you are. So here we are, right along the road, ready to take off. Yeah, I'm pushing up. It's not responding. The camera works. I can move the camera up and down, but the drone controls aren't letting me take off right now. Oh, there we go. Excellent. Yeah, so here we are. There's the greenhouse, the berm just in front of us here. This flow that's moving along the berm to the west. There's the leading edge of that flow. You can see the big kind of solidified blocks, the black chunks in the lava there, but it's still moving quite quickly. You can see it sort of rolling over the front of itself like a tank tread. Yeah, and you can see some of the individualized channels in there that are moving. I mean, they're moving pretty quickly across the moss there. So this is a really advancing flow front. It's fanning out as it's coming down that channel. We got a little bit of something on fire there at the leading edge. But if you just focus on any little section of the lobe there, the front of the flow, you can really see how quickly it's moving. There's the greenhouse. There's the active fissures in the distance. And then we've got the berm. And can we look a little bit further to the right, Johan, and see if does the berm, have they closed the berm off across the road? I'm just wondering. It looks like there's a little structure there. Oh, it looks like they're working on it now. So they are trying to seal it off. Wow. And they've got, probably just minutes to go until that lava reaches there. But it looks like they've got most of it across there. They've got all the equipment, or most of the equipment, on one side of the berm. There's the pipeline that comes from the power plant into town, the hot water. There's a small little structure there burning. And then, yeah, let's fly back over to that set of vents there. And this was this other set of fissures. So I think, this kind of supports some of the earthquake data. We'd seen so many of these earthquakes closer to town that suggested that the magma had moved through the dike system in the subsurface and was very close to town. And now we're seeing some of that magma working its way up to the surface and actually erupting much closer to town than this first fissure system. And there's a possibility this could lengthen further to the south, or we could get additional vents opening up to the south as well. So that was that lobe there that we saw first pouring into that little channel, into that little valley, that little gully in the topography, and that's moving to the southwest. The front of it is still moving to the south towards those homes. And then it might be lengthening to the north. See how there's so much more gas coming out at the north end of it? That may be the fractures opening on that end. Gases escaping first. Those gases are less dense, so they're going to be towards the top of the magma chamber and rising. And then we've got this secondary lobe on the east side as well. So we've got this lobe coming off the sort of the southwest side, and then this southeast or south lobe as well, being fed by this lava fissure system. And the fountaining there, probably just a few tens of meters, maybe a couple of those bigger bursts, up to maybe 50, 60 meters would be my guess, just kind of looking at it. He's flying the drone. We're only about 30 meters off the ground. That's spectacular there. Grab a couple photos if you would while you're doing that, Johan. Thank you. And you can see some of the cracks in the ground too, where we have these older fracture systems in the moss, and some of the lava may be pouring back down into that. So there's other spaces for that lava to go. So there's this little southern branch of the fissure system, and then the main system there in the background. There's that greenhouse there, the top left. Yeah, so it's kind of burning up some of the moss. little more gas at this north end, that maybe where it's opening up a little bit further to the north, possibly. But we did watch this thing, as we flew over this on the first run, actually start to develop from just a little kind of looked like a little mini campfire in the distance, and then we saw this thing lengthen into a, maybe 100 meter or so long fissure system. And can we swing the camera up, Johan, and look at the, oh, that's nice there. And look towards the town a little bit. Yeah, that's great. So now we're at the north end of the fissure. You can see the lava just being pumped out. And yeah, all flowing to the south, downhill. Maybe pan up a little bit with the camera so we could see the homes. Oh, excuse me. So I think we had a little. Normally, I'd be flying the drone, and this is actually better that Johan's flying it. But there was, I think, just a little glitch there where I didn't have the controls weren't working. Again, pretty new technology using a Starlink uh, system to link the drone, which is there in Iceland, to the user wherever they are. I'm here in southern Idaho. Now we're shooting off to the. There we go. So now you can see the homes right there. And then, even this, though this looks like everyone always calls this smoke, but those are very um, concentrated gases: hydrogen sulfide, sulfur dioxide, carbon dioxide, um, lots of just super noxious fumes coming out of that. Yeah, and I'm not looking at the chat a whole lot right now, folks. So if you're asking questions, I'm trying to juggle a couple things here. So we're just watching the drone and the eruption take place. And again, sobering with the homes right there. But tempering all this with, this is a typical eruption in this part of the world. This is how much of Iceland was formed. Um, there's nothing I'm seeing here that's alarming or out of the normal, other than the human element, right? Other than the fact that we have this town that's existed for so long, that's so close, and we still this thing could die out. We still have a long way to go before we have any sort of impact on the infrastructure. But right now we have to face the reality that there's a good chance that there'll be some damage in the town, but hopefully not. So yeah, down looking at the south end of this flow, the solidified pieces of lava are there in black. These pieces of crust that have cooled a little bit. They're still quite hot though. And then the incandescent, more molten parts of the lava is in orange, and that's where you can see it. If you look at towards the ground view, that's where you see it really starting to move quicker and carrying those. They're almost what we call rafted blocks, these chunks of solidified lava that are carried with the active flow. View back to the north of the excuse me, of the greenhouse, and there's a little gully or channel here, a little drainage that this leading flow is following. So I don't know if this one's getting much longer. This one seems to be sort of established, and then there's this gap of maybe a kilometer or so back to the main fissure system. Looks like a nice clear day in Iceland. Not very windy. Yeah, and the people have already evacuated. So the town was evacuated yesterday. So if you're just kind of getting on this and kind of new to the scene, the town was evacuated yesterday due to some of the cracks in town and some of the other safety hazards there. And so, from what I know, that everyone should be out of harm's way, and we're just more or less waiting to see how this eruption progresses, and exactly what sort of things might be damaged. There's a view of the power plant at Svartsengi, between the hills there in the distance. As far as we know, there's no lava headed that way because the vents have opened up further downhill. You can see that from where we are to Svartsengi, that's uphill, so that's up gradient. So the lava should not head that way based on where the vents are now. But we're still pretty early in this eruption, and there could be vents that open up in other places potentially. There's a really active lava channel right there, sort of in the middle of your view, just beyond the vents. You can see there's a nice channel pumping the lava to the left or to the south. And just to be clear, I'm not operating the drone right now. Johan, who's a professional pilot, is operating it. I think we had just a few glitches with the controls, but he's providing us a much better view and footage than I would have been able to. So thanks to him for that. Little patch of moss there that hasn't been inundated with lava. So you sometimes see these. These are sometimes called in Hawaii, these little patches of land that are surrounded by lava are sometimes called kipukas. And this one may get filled in eventually. You can see there's lava sort of encroaching upon it, but for now it's a little patch of ground that hasn't been inundated by lava. Nice view of this spatter cone, sort of like 3 in a row there, I guess. That lava being thrown out, it lands around the vent and piles up to form the black cone shape there. So the longer the eruption goes on, the bigger the edifice or the cone becomes over time. Sometimes when you have strong winds, you can end up with more lava piled up on one side versus the other. Just looking at the gases coming out, it doesn't seem like we have very strong winds. And then there's a nice channel, that kind of silvery flow coming out. The backside of this is an active flow channel that's moving off to the east or the southeast there. But a nice kind of swing around there, and then you can just see the whole surface rippling, like you're right above the vent there. This is all very molten and hot. So it seems to have a little less. I think in the December 18th eruption we saw a little more, I don't know what the right word is, vigor, power. It erupted it was more productive in terms of lava output initially, and then over time it started to wane quite quickly. This one might be an eruption that sustains itself over a longer period of time. We'll just have to see. Whoops, sorry. And let's see. And Amanda Joe just sent me something, so let me Got way too many windows open. Let's see. She says, trying to get her little thing open here. So, Johan, I've got a Grindavik resident who's telling me there might be a vent opening up in town. I'm trying to figure out where exactly that is. I don't know if you want to look that way or fly that way. Let me see if I can open up. Here we go. Says in town and along the line of fissures. Oh, she might be looking at the same one we are. Okay. Just at north edge of town. So another good view there of some of the vents that are forming and becoming a little more defined. These eruptive vents. A lot of times with these fissure eruptions, it starts out more or less like this, but some vents can get kind of plugged up. Others are more productive. And then over time, some of these vents will be the primary vents. And it's really almost impossible to predict which event might be the dominant vent over time. You just kind of have to see how it plays out eventually. Yeah, and I'm not able to monitor the chat, so let's make sure we're respectful considering this is right next to this town. The good people of Iceland, this is a stressful situation. There's possibly people that could be losing their homes as a result of this. And so I'd just request that everyone just be polite, respectful, productive. If you're going to participate in the chat, just make sure that you're kind of on your best behavior there. And can we head back towards the town, Johan? Or maybe at least look back down that way. I think a lot of folks are interested in the leading edge of this thing as opposed to looking at the north edge. I don't know if he can hear me or not. Well, there's pieces of lava that really got thrown out on that one. Pretty impressive, though. This is how the Earth makes new rock, new crust. Those gases coming up with the magma, expanding and propelling the lava upwards and outwards. Can we head down to the south end and look at the eruption? Should be Hagafelt, the hill on the left there. And that's the north end of the fissure system. So now we're kind of looking back to looking the east there. And now we're swinging back down to the south. There's that secondary, just starting to see that secondary fissure system closest to the homes. Yep, right there. There's the greenhouse on the right. Oh boy. We'll probably get one more last little pass at this with this battery, and then we'll see how it goes beyond that. And there's that secondary fissure with the lava coming out from that. Again, it's less productive than the ones further up the slope. So it's not going to feed as large of a lava flow field. But if it stays active for a while, that would be bad news for those homes that are very close by. Doesn't look like it's really lengthened much though, so that's good news. But you can see the leading edge of it is probably, gosh, that's pretty close to that house there. That might be less than 100 meters, not sure. So there's that main lobe on the right there, headed to the south down the primary slope, and then this one to the flowing towards you there. There's a little bit of a depression there that one's been filling in for some time. But it looks like the main flow that's moving the fastest is the one on the right that's headed to the south. It may miss that house. It looks like it's headed more for the street there, but it's quite close. These are the homes on the north end of Grindavik. And we have like maybe a little bit of an industrial place in the bottom corner there where my face is. There's a little bit of there's a crane down there and some warehouses. Yeah, some more homes. Yeah, that flow is moving pretty quickly right there through that narrow channel. It's fanning out a little bit at the bottom, but you can see how quickly it's moving through that channel. And then this will probably be our last flight. Nice view there. The main flow along the berm and the greenhouse just beyond. And then it looks like that lava is getting close to the road. They're starting to move some of the equipment away. And we'll have to see if the berm works well to keep the lava moving towards the west. But I'd say so far, so far it's doing pretty well. We only have lava close to the town because we had part of the volcano, the vents opened up on the south side of the berm. But this one's doing a pretty good job of channeling that flow to the west. They had to probably patch that hole up pretty quick, so that, let's see, we lost the drone there. We'll switch back over to this for a second. Yeah, so there you can see the lava is at the road, and there's that secondary fissure that we were looking at by the homes there. So the lava flow did get to the main road right here, the main highway north from Grindavik. So I mean, at this point, we've got some impact on the infrastructure right there with the lava flow on the highway. Um, yeah, I think the flight thing's over. So thanks again to NatureEye for that was pretty amazing. We got a full almost an hour, I would guess. I didn't time that of footage flying over the flow field, just getting some really nice imagery, getting a good sense of the scale. So I'll make sure I put their links to their the company and the website. Remember that you can remotely operate the drones in different places, including Iceland. And there's a code, and I think there's a new code. So if you use this code, so my name SHAWN and then FLY, all in caps, Shawn Fly, you get $10 off a flight booking. So that's a pretty good deal. And I think they're like around $95 for a half hour, which is pretty reasonable and getting better all the time. So thanks again to them for the great footage there. You guys were very responsive. I mean, I was on my way to the office and they were already um, texting me, letting me know that they were mobilizing and getting close to the eruption sites so they could get the drone up. And then grateful they were able to let me be part of that and live stream that. So thanks again to NatureEye and all of the good folks there like Johan. So let's see. So kind of back to the webcams now. And we'll just kind of play this out as we go. Let's see what other things we might. I don't know if there's been interested to see over the last hour or so. Yeah, not a lot, really no earthquakes. Now that this thing's open, which is good. I mean, in a way, if we had more earthquakes progressing to the south or to the north, that might mean that the fracture system or the dike was advancing, progressing, and so that's good news. So I think the main thing we could focus on right now is just watching the webcams and seeing how this eruptive event impacts this area. And I'm gonna maybe open up. So apologize for any of the dead space here while I'm trying to check out a few other things that I might share with you. Seeing if there's anything new from the Met office. Okay, so we have one new update from the Met office. Let's get this. And this is so 12:40 local time, so that would be about 10 minutes ago, 5:40 here a.m. in Mountain Standard Time. So the eruption has maintained the same intensity for the last hour or so. Seismic measurements show that at the beginning of the upheaval, the magma moved to the southwest from the area north of Sunduk and reached south of Hagafeld. In the last few hours, however, the seismic activity has been stable. We saw that just a second ago, which indicates that the advance of the magma tunnel or the dike has stopped. So the magma moving through the dike and breaking rock out in front of it, that has stopped. But it has reached the town limits of Grindavik and even under the town. Right now, a new fissure opened south of the first fissure from this morning. So that's the one we looked at during the drone flight. We saw that one just north of the town open up that secondary fissure. Deformation measurements strongly indicate that cracks within the town limits in Grindavik has subsided as a result of this morning's upheaval. Therefore, it can be assumed that more cracks have opened and perhaps new ones will form. So the other hazard we have in town is just some of these cracks opening up. So there's the main fissure there, and then this secondary one here that we saw open up more or less live in real time. And then there's the berm right there. And so now they've got most of the lava from this vent is moving along the berm and has passed the road. Here's the road right here. It'll be interesting to see once it comes around, because I don't think I'm not sure how far. Phase one was just this part of the berm. I don't know if they got to much of the berm out here to the west. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. So go back to the webcam for you. Let's see what else. Are there other? I'm going to check some of the other webcams and see. I think that's probably the best view right now. I'll close some of these windows. We can close that one. And we can close that one. And we did not look at, I don't think we looked at the GPS data. So I might take a look at that here on my other monitor, and then I'll share that with you if I think there's something kind of awesome and compelling to share. Well, it looks like the main thing on the GPS data, let's see if we go to the 4-hour data, is you can see one big uptick or data point right when the eruption began, presumably. So maybe I'll show that to you real quick here. So here's the Svartsengi one, and then we've been watching this trend. Here's the December eruptive event. Here's the trend, and then boom, there's this huge, how many, what would that be, like, oh boy, almost over 200 millimeters of it moving up right here when the eruption began. So yeah, and the camera's going to have to keep panning further that way. So they're zooming in there on the flow. It looks like the main part of the flow is just to the west of this first home. So it might be spared initially. It's more or less heading towards this intersection of these two streets down this topographic slope here. Yeah, so let me see if I could probably spend some time getting to a couple of the questions. Yeah, someone said noting how quickly it's spreading. Yeah, this is just hot. The lava is quite hot as it's coming out of these vents, and so it's very fluid. And the topography is such that it can move pretty quickly over this topography. And then it's just a case of volume, right? How much magma is going to erupt will dictate to some degree how far the lava moves away. Any more drone flights? Not sure. Haven't heard from them yet. They're probably very busy. They might have other folks they need to have flights with. So not sure about that. Someone's saying there's a new vent, and then they gave me GPS coordinates. So maybe I'll try to put that in over here. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we get a few other vents opening up. So the new vent Interesting. So unconfirmed right now, but a viewer. Let's see, what viewer was that that said. So Andreas, you sent me coordinates to a new vent that's like really close to the harbor. If you could send me something to confirm that, or any other information you have, that would be great. So he or she is saying there might be a new vent that's opened up over here. Kind of an odd location given the trend of these other vents, but possible. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Um, yeah, it's getting close to the pipeline. So there is a pipeline right here. So this pipeline, as far as I understand, supplies hot water from the power plant to Grindavik. And so damage to the pipeline looks like it's likely. Um, no one's really in town right now, so that's good. Um, Probably, I mean, the force of the lava probably will break it. I don't know if it will actually like melt it or not. Um, yeah, so that lava has definitely flowed over the road. Kind of crazy. I've driven that road several times. Now they're moving the camera a little bit. You can see here's some of the equipment, some of the workers here, just on the other side of the berm. But yeah, there probably wasn't much they could have done with the pipeline. I mean, you just didn't have time, right? I mean, maybe you could have buried it. I don't know how well that would have worked. Remember that this lava, it it, it exerts quite a bit of force on the ground too. It's rock, it's dense rock, so it can actually push the ground up in front of it, and that's why I was somewhat interested to see how well these berms might work. Because in the right situation, the lava, if it was channeled perpendicular to the berm, it would actually probably push on it and move it out of the way. But it looks like we might be getting a little bit of the lava flow touching the pipeline right there. And someone asks about the harbor area. Mm, I can't tell. That's quite a ways away, but there's the fissure system on the left is the main one. We can still see the incandescent glow right here near the greenhouse, and then there's that secondary fissure system that's closer. Yeah, don't know. We need to probably be investigating this possible other vent closer to the harbor, and I'm not really sure. I don't think there's any webcam that is any better than this. Yeah, I don't know what kind of pipe it is. Looking at the live chat now. Um, so the different camera, it sounds like pan to the harbor, but they didn't see the vent. Someone says there's steam across the harbor. I think a lot of this is the gas from this fissure that's rising. So if you're seeing some of this plume, I believe this is some of the gas coming out of this. Oh, maybe they're, no, I don't know what, no, that's just a little embayment, right? Hmm. You can see steam near water in top right on zoomed camera. So this area right here, perhaps? I thought that was just a little water body. It looks like water to me. It doesn't look like it's moving, but I could be wrong. We're all just kind of armchair quarterbacking this together. Yeah, Amanda Joe says there's the yeah the so now the pipeline that where you can see those flames coming up, that's the hot water pipeline that goes into town that's being covered with the lava as we speak. Let me see what else she's got for me. So she's got, yeah, map that's similar to what I'd seen. open up some of these other ones. Oh, I think people are maybe looking at, so the steam might be down here. Yeah, between the shiny building and the road to the harbor. Um, yeah, I think I see it too. It could just be, I mean, it's hard to say, right? It could just be, depending on if there's fractures already there. Hard to say for sure, but not a good sign if it's something else. Remember those volcanic gases too will oftentimes be a lot more white where they come out. You can see now where we're burning maybe part of the roadway. The smokes, we have actually smoke here, right? So this is no longer uh, gases from the lava. This is actually something's burning right here. We've got the pipeline on the right side, and then right here, I'm not sure what's burning there, but we've got something, and there's probably the roadway, right? The asphalt along the road, maybe some of the construction materials that's making these black plumes in this area. Let me jump over to, let me jump over to, no, not that, sorry. So now they're zooming out a little bit. Yeah, you really, now this really gives you a sense for how much longer and active these upslope fissures are versus that small one at the leading end. Let me look at some of these things Amanda Joe has sent me that I haven't had time to look at. Um, okay, so this is just a news item. Eruption started around 8 o'clock this morning. Considerably smaller, seems to be considerably smaller than the last eruption, according to one of the volcanologists. Eruption is in a bad place and lava may have flowed over the ramparts being built. Yeah, so we've seen that. And so this is probably mostly stuff we already know, but still. And so he's stating, one of the volcanologists there, Professor Thordarson, is saying, oh, and our webcam went down. There we go. He says it's 1/3 to 1/6 of the productivity of the last eruption, which is, I mean, you can see that, right? It's not pumping out the lava at nearly the pace of the last one. So he's inclined to think this will be a rather short eruption because it starts slower. But because, oh, so then he's saying, but because it starts slower than the last one, it could also last longer. So he's sort of covering both sides of the coin there. Um, let's see, a couple other things she sent me. Let's see about the berm. They were able to move all the machines, the heavy equipment out in time. There's a little map here. Sorry if I'm yawning. I got up very early. So this little map shows these are the old fissures here, and this is the old lava flow from December. And then the red fissure is the one that opened up today. And then the black lines, the thick black lines, are the berms that were erected. These are for the power plant in Blue Lagoon area, and then this was the one for Grindavik, but unfortunately the fissure opened up within that area there. So let's see, anything else in this article? Yeah, and then they filled in the gap where the road crosses. So they got that done in time. So that's good because now none of this lava has been able to follow the road. It's still advancing along the edge of the berm. Um, right now, I'd say that our bigger concern is this fissure system, which is less active but is still pumping out lava very close to the town. Um, and then maybe we see a little bit of steam out there, some gas. We're not sure what's going on there. So yeah, and so they don't think with the power plant in this article I'm reading that Amanda Joe sent, and thank you, Amanda Joe. Hope you're doing well. Um, the eruption has to increase considerably in order for it to start flowing northwest towards Svartsengi, the power plant. Thus, there is a hill up in a gap east of the mountain that protects it. So, yeah, so right now the power plant's not at risk just based on where this thing is erupting, but we're still quite early in the game. Uh, so she's sending me some news items. And what else has she got here? So another camera that's showing some of this a little bit more closely is the Ruve camera, which is one of the media outlets there. So this is more closely showing the eruption site at that lowest end, at that southernmost end, and it flowing into, looks from this vantage point, it looks like it's really close to that home just to the west of it and advancing towards the roadway. So we can, I'll sort of switch back and forth between that one and this one. So thanks for sending that, Amanda Joe. Just sending her a quick message. I'm just sending her a quick message. So a little zoomed in view there of that flow in the home. I mean, that's just a few, tens of meters, if that, away from that home. And then it looks like it's headed right for this blue and red house here, unfortunately. Hard to tell exactly where it is and the perspective, but probably quite soon. Yeah, so sorry for the dead space again. Just lots of other things coming across my way. Just trying to get caught up on some stuff. Yeah, it sounds like in Iceland they've got it all on like live TV, and she says, and they're talking to folks. Um, oh, it looks like we lost that one for a second. Let's see if we can get rebooted. There you go. And then the flow in the foreground, slowly consuming more of the road. The leading edge here is well past part of the pipeline. So I imagine the pipeline probably has been compromised. I mean, it might still be under the lava and intact, but hard to say for sure. It's buffering a little bit. So sending a couple emails real quick. Apologize. Yeah, and Amanda Joe said the east part of town had lost electricity last night already. And we might be able to might be getting a moderator on the live chat here in a minute. Lots of people letting me know that the volcano erupted. Uh, let's see. Yeah, so a lot to keep up with here, friends. So I'm not being a great host right now, but hopefully the footage and the webcam is more or less carrying the show here. That looks like it's, I mean, it looks like it's really close to the road there, right? Like it's getting right up to the road. So we'll have to see how that progresses. Um, yeah, folks letting me know that the eruption had started, so appreciate that. Anything else here? Okay, let's see. A little bit of shaking there. Maybe the wind. Probably the wind. Don't expect they're getting much in the way of earthquakes. Okay, I'm looking back at the live chat. Yeah, thanks for the support, friends, and encouragement. We'll see how long. I don't know how long I'll run this. We'll go a little longer. I mean, I want to see how this plays out as much as you. Um, but I probably can't do this all day. It is my anniversary, so and I woke up at 3:30. But I do want to see how this plays out. So we'll hang in there a little bit longer. Okay, let's see. A couple more messages coming in. So yeah, that fissure is still active. The one that's closest to the homes, that's probably the primary focus right now. The little steam area we talked about earlier, I'm just not seeing much there. I mean, I can kind of see what looks like gas or steam down there, but it really hasn't progressed any. So I'm optimistic that it's maybe just, water evaporating or steam on the ground, or depending on the temperature and humidity. And then we've got this flow here that's crossed the roadway and the pipeline. So those are our, and then we've got more of the roadway burning up, and that's probably the black smoke here from burning this asphalt. So yeah, thanks for the anniversary wishes. 29 years today, me and my wife. So that's pretty awesome. Thank you. And we do have plans the rest of today with some things. So kind of lousy timing, but I do want to stick with this a little while longer. And she's back in bed right now anyway. It's still quite early here. It's a little after 6 local time. Let me email one more person here. Where did it go? There we go. Okay, couple more things from Amanda Joe. Let's see. Not sure what that is. And a news item she just sent me that says the lava has reached, well, it says the top group. I think it just means like the outer berm. Let's see. A couple facts in this news story that Amanda Joe just sent me. So the eruption started at 7:57 local time. The fissure is closer to the south of the fortifications. Lava flows towards the town. New fissure opened north of the edge of town around 12:10. That was the one we caught on the on the drone. The public safety level has been raised to emergency level. The mayor says the situation is terrible. I can imagine. A professor of geophysics says that the eruption is considerably smaller than the eruption that started on December 18th. So that's maybe a bit of good news here, team, is that if the erupted or eruptible magma here is, if the total volume of magma is considerably lower, we might get lava approaching town, possibly going into a little bit of town, but not like a wholesale, just wave of lava over the whole area. More news. It was decided to evacuate Grindavik tonight due to increased seismic activity. The evacuation went well, was completed early this morning. So that's the good news. Like, there should be 0 lives lost as a result of this event. And that's the most important thing. Earthquake activity at the Sunduk crater series started to increase around 3 in the morning, and over 100 earthquakes were recorded in the hour that passed. The activity moved south as the morning went on. And kind of watch that. The earthquakes moved progressively towards town south along the dike system over time. Workers rescued the work machines, which have been used to construct the defenses. So thank you, Amanda Joe, for those updates there. Can you address using water on this? See it a lot in the chat. Okay, so she's sending me something else. Oh, putting water on the lava. I think that's what she's talking about. And I haven't been watching the chat very much, so. I do want to show you one more map that she sent me in a news item. I think it's, we can see it right here, but it's the maps are always helpful to me. I'm a very spatial person, so let me pull this over here for a second, and then see if I can zoom in a little bit on this map. So there's again the protective barrier, power plants up here, protective barrier around the power plant, which aren't a factor right now. Old lava flow from December, Hagafelt, which is this hill, and there's our first fissure that opened up in the second one. And then the black here, they've actually nicely got, and it's just schematic, of course, but where the lava has gone so far. So the black is the extent of the lava field. So this is poured out of this fissure because it already had breached the berm. And then this one's moving along the berm. But I'm interested to see, if this continues, it's going to come around this thing. There's this little secondary berm here, but then we have all these homes on this side. So it's just wait and see right now. But that's a helpful map view of kind of where things are at right now. Let's see more from Amanda Joe. A magma pulse may be re-entering the system, and this is a quote from one of the Met Office scientists. This continues to surprise us. Um, Benedict Olfigson. He says that they see very clear velocity changes in Svartsengi, which probably means that a new magma pulse is on its way into the system. It was slowing down after the eruption started, but about half an hour ago it started to pick up speed again. We are no longer seeing a slowdown in the town. Benedict says the eruption behaves in a completely different way than on December 18th, when a lot of magma came in a very short time. So I guess what they're talking about there is that they're using the earthquakes passing underneath the magma body at Svartsengi. Um, they're using that to indicate the maybe the extent or size of the magma chamber, or possibly the rate at which it's ascending, and so that there's either more magma or it's moving up quicker. So there's more magma being supplied into the system. So if I'm reading that correctly, the what she sent me there. Um, let's see, another news item. Oh, that's the same one. Okay. Um, right. So, and then we've got the other view here. I don't know if this is more or less helpful. The Ruve camera. We've got the flows pretty much going into town here. I mean, it's getting really close. It looks like it's getting close to the road. Maybe we can use the zoom feature here. Nah, that's not much more helpful. At any rate, a couple different views there. Let's switch back to this one. Yeah, someone thinks this new fissure is intensifying. I've been looking at way too many screens for a while, and so I haven't been able to tell. Um, do we think it's lengthening though? It does look like it might have lengthened a bit, like this activity at the south end, and maybe it's got a little bit more to the north. A couple questions: do fissures have large bursts, or they say the relative size? It can vary depending on the gas composition or the gas concentrations as the gases are. You've got these batches of magma that are being fed into the system through this vertical dike, and so if you have a little bit more gas component there, it could burst a little bit. And then remember, there's a nozzle effect too. So if you're trying to force lava through a narrower conduit, it's going to shoot that lava up higher. You're going to get that nozzle effect potentially. Yeah, I can't keep up with the. Yeah, someone thinks it's lengthened a little bit. Boy, I can't keep up with the live chat at all. Yeah, Amanda Joe thinks it's lengthened as well. So yeah, I probably should have been watching it a little bit longer, but I've been kind of pulled in 56 directions. Can we zoom in on it a little bit? There we go. Yeah, so lengthening's not good, because if it lengthens, lengthening doesn't necessarily mean it's putting out more magma. But to lengthen, typically you would need to bring in more magma to widen out that dike system. So it's probably not a good sign that it's lengthening, because it's probably indicative of more lava being supplied into that area. But it doesn't seem like we've got anything spilling out anywhere else. Yeah, and so a lot of my Western Hemisphere friends are probably just waking up to this. Um, I've kind of been up for a while now. Yeah, and I might take a little break here at some point. I can leave the live stream running, shut down my webcam, and maybe go take a brisk walk. Or I brought like half a muffin here that's just kind of sitting here, so I can do that. I don't mind taking a sip of water on the camera, but I don't need to eat in front of a bunch of folks. Yeah, the greenhouse is still there. It's on the, the berm. I'd say the berm is done pretty well. We just had the vents open up inside of that, and that was always a possibility, right? The berms were not a complete fail-safe. Um, and the other thing I'm kind of noticing, and it might just be me, but these lava flows can build up higher. And looking at the one here in the foreground, again, we got lots of black smoke from the asphalt burning and maybe the pipeline too. But it looks, based on this view, and it could just be me, that the lava channel is getting kind of high relative to the berm, especially where the roadway is there. I'm not seeing a lot of black berm on the other side of that lava channel. I don't know if anyone else agrees with that or not. So there is the possibility that it overtops the berm and starts moving in that direction. Lava is just, it's less predictable than like water, right? Like if you had water, it's very fluid. It's going to follow that path of least resistance, follow the topography. But lava actually builds and generates and creates its own topography. It can like back up against some topographic barrier and inflate, um, creating, like tens of meters high hills and mounds. Yeah, that fissure definitely is more active than um, what we saw earlier. The other thing I'll try to do, and I'm sure they're super busy. I haven't even heard from the the NatureEye drone folks, but usually they've always been pretty quick. But I don't expect that they're doing it now. But they're usually pretty quick about uploading the photos that we take during the drone thing. So I'll check real quick on another screen here if they've already uploaded the photos from our flight. Again, it can sometimes take, well, I would expect that they've got a lot going on right now. But let's see if they've got any up yet. It looks like they did take some on the first flight. He didn't take any on the second one, but the photos are still processing. So he's at least uploaded them. We just got to wait for them to show up. So I'll check back on that window here in a bit and see if anything's transpired. So, and what else can we do here? Just here's the other camera angle. So this is only looking at the lower part of that fissure system. And yeah, hard to say for sure. And then let me pull up, Amanda Joe sent me a YouTube clip. Here we go. That shows it lengthening. So let's see if oh, she just sent me the live feed of that Roov camera. Yeah, I think it's definitely lengthened. I think we all agree with that. The question is just what will happen next. A lot of the road gone there. A good section of the pipeline is gone. Do we feel like this flow in the foreground is moving as quickly as it was earlier? It's a little hard to tell. I suppose it was moving, well, no, I guess the berm right there is oriented pretty much east-west, so not sure. I might take a little, I'll leave this running, but I might take a quick break and walk down the hall and just take a bio break. But I'll be back with you here in a second. So it might be quiet for a minute. Let me check a couple things first. Got way too many windows open. We'll come back to that one later. Okay. Can you click on my... Okay, so let's try this real quick. So bear with me here for a second, folks. Okay, so I think I just got someone enabled as a moderator. So thank you, Lisa, for volunteering to do that. And hopefully that'll help a little bit. I have not been spending much time with the live chat. I think she can control things, like she can slow things down so it doesn't come in so fast and furious. She can obviously, I think, edit out or control, like if there's kind of crazy stuff going on there. So thanks for that. Yeah, haven't had a live stream. I'm used to live streams. I did a live stream on what? I did one yesterday, and there was like 1,500 people, which was huge. Usually I get like 500, so this is much bigger. And this will enable me to maybe address some questions and do some other things. So thank you, Lisa, for that. Okay, so I'm going to take a quick break, but I'll leave the camera running, and I will turn off my webcam really quick. You guys don't have to see that. All right, folks, back. Thanks for letting me take a quick break there. Just ran down the hall, used the restroom, ate a little muffin. If you're just getting up and joining us, thanks for jumping on here. This is live footage of the eruption in Iceland, just north and basically in the town of Grindavik. I'm geology professor Shawn Willsey. We did a drone flight earlier today, right over the eruption, had some fantastic footage. We're looking right now at a webcam feed looking, I suppose, to the southeast at part of town at the small eruptive fissure in the middle ground. We actually got to see that open up as we were live streaming with the drone. And then the main fissure is out of view back to the left here, and it's feeding this channel that's in the closest view here, that's running along the berm that they've constructed. The lava flow has moved over the north-south highway running out of Grindavik and is advancing along the berm off to the west. The structure still standing there is a greenhouse, and so the berm so far has been able to keep the greenhouse from being inundated. Right now, the power plant is fine, and the Blue Lagoon are fine, and they're located a little bit upslope from the active volcanic vents. So at this time, there's no reason to believe that they'll be compromised, but we're still pretty early in the situation. Again, we watched this vent right here open up more or less in front of our eyes, and now it's advancing partially to the west, but also to the south and into this neighborhood, into this northern little section of Grindavik. Yes, we can zoom in a little bit here. There's only so much control we have on that. And then there's another webcam that shows a little different view, maybe a little bit crisper, I suppose, view right here. Hard to say again, just based on this oblique view, if that, it looks like the lava is, if not on the road, it's really close to this area right here. And then the other issue we had was the pipeline which runs from the power plant into town, that supplies the town with hot water. That's been buried in lava. So I don't know if it's actually been severed, but at this point, yeah, looks like it's pretty much buried. And you can see some of the black smoke from the asphalt and some of the other things that are being heated up and burning from the lava. The good news, of course, though, is the town was fully evacuated, so everyone is safe. It's just a very sad and somewhat slow-moving tragedy unfolding before our eyes, where we're looking at this town and these people's homes um, possibly being impacted by this geologic event that's happening right now. So I'm trying to balance a little bit here in terms of just trying to provide you with some information as best I can. I'm monitoring the situation just like everyone, trying to figure out what's going on, trying to figure out what's developing. The live chat, I've got a monitor on it now, so that should be helpful. Thank you to Lisa for being the monitor there, and I trust that's going well. I'll try to chime in on that a little bit now and then. Otherwise, I'm just going to try to leave this up on one view and then scroll a few other things on my other monitor, and then I'll bring those to your attention as we go. We'll double check to see if the Met Office has any updates. They've been providing pretty regular updates. They think the intensity is more or less the same over the last hour or so. That's the last update we had. And sometimes the live feed gets a little squirrely, so I just refresh it. And yeah, so thanks for again for joining me. I don't know how long I'll stick with this. Probably go a little bit further, maybe a little bit more time, and then I might bow out. Might come back later in the day and do a little bit more. We'll just kind of see how this plays out. As I mentioned before, it's also my wife and I's anniversary, so I don't want to step on that date. You know, the I don't want to mess with that too much, but she understands that this is a big deal and such. So yeah, so still quite a bit of lava coming down this channel along the berm. It's sort of fanning out here as it gets near the roadway, and it looks like it's still advancing, but it probably looks like it's moving slower as you look at it in view there, as opposed to the more incandescent part on the left there near the greenhouse, where you can see the active channel is moving a little bit quicker. But it's still progressing along the edge of the berm. We'll have to see how far along that goes, and then we can zoom in a bit into this area. And we've been watching this fissure. Excuse me, it looks like it lengthened a little bit over time. There was also some concern earlier about a little wisp of gas or steam over here by the harbor, but I just don't think that's I think if that is what that is, that it's not a fraction. I don't think it's geologic in origin. I think it's maybe, hot water coming out of, or hot steam coming out of a building or something else. But we'll keep kind of monitoring everything as we go over time. And again, it might be a little bit of dead space every now and then while I'm trying to monitor everything. Yeah, Amanda Joe says she confirmed that hot water has been cut off from town, so there's no more hot water. So that pipeline apparently was compromised. And let's see, go to this camera for a minute. So we've got this little lobe here that's kind of sluggishly moving off to the west, and then the main section that's moving down here to the south. But fairly, I mean, it's the ground is sloped here, but it's fairly flat, and these fissures are less productive than the main ones off the screen here to the left, and so it's just taking that lava a while to move very far. And I'm sure people in Grindavik probably feel, and I hope Amanda Joe's okay with me sharing this. We texted a little bit and asked her how she was, and she said she was just kind of numb to the whole thing. You're watching this tragedy unfold in your town live on TV. It probably feels a little surreal and a little like, I don't know, out of body, like you're watching a TV show, but it's also real at the same time. And so, one question might be, well, how long will this last? And right now, there's no way to quantify with any sort of surety how long the eruption will last. It really is a matter of, how not all the magma that's in the subsurface is necessarily magma that's going to erupt. There's always a portion of that magma that's left behind that cools more slowly, and stays underground. Certainly, though, I would guess, given the eruption we had a few weeks ago that lasted, I mean, it technically lasted about 3 days, but the first day it was really pumping out a lot, and then it slowed down over time. This could go on for several days, so it's again kind of a slowly evolving situation. And it's one of these situations where we just kind of have to see how it progresses from hour to hour, or even sometimes minute to minute. Lots of variables at play. Okay, let me switch back over. Yeah, and so some folks might just be joining us, people in the Western Hemisphere, maybe just getting up for the morning. It's almost 7 o'clock here, Mountain Standard Time in USA. It's still completely dark out. We got a good, maybe like 8 inches of snow last night, so the roads were pretty snowy driving in early this morning. I'll probably just do a few more minutes and then head back home, and then just kind of monitor this throughout the day and jump back on when I feel like there's something I can contribute. For now, I mean, I would guess, in predicting how this might play out over the next few hours, I'm interested to see how this lava flow, this main lava flow coming from the main fissure system, as it moves along the berm. Let me move to, well, I don't know if I have that other graphic up. But as it moves along the berm doesn't extend all the way, it doesn't encircle the entire town. At some point out here to the west, the berm ends, and I don't even know how far along they got the construction of this thing. So I don't know if it's fully completed or if not, but I'm interested to see once this lava flow along the berm gets to the end of the berm, wherever that is, what will happen? Will that lava flow turn to the south the way I think it might because of the topography and maybe impact the western part of town? We're also interested, obviously, in watching how this lower fissure system plays out and what impact it might have on these homes here on the north end of Grindavik. And then I guess a third component would be, if there's any changes in the system. We've already seen a new fissure open up. And so how will that look moving forward? If you're just joining us, we did do 2 consecutive drone flights over the eruption with NatureEye, and those were fantastic. And we got some amazing views of just the whole scene. We actually got to see this fissure more or less open up right in front of us. Um, Start out as a very small, isolated, centralized vent, and then it expanded and lengthened to a much longer system. Someone's saying in the chat it's already reached between two houses. Yeah. So as we're watching this, and it's a bit, I don't know, like you feel a little guilty watching, right? Like this is someone's home. Um, so on one hand, like I've watched a lot of eruptions, and but I've never, other than Hawaii in 2018, I've never seen an eruption where there was, this much human element at risk or in jeopardy. Most eruptions, at least that I've seen, have been in uninhabited places where you can enjoy it purely for the aesthetics and the learning experience. But this one's a little bit muted because of just looking at all those homes there. Excuse me. Um, yeah, so I'll do a couple more things here. Let me double check on another window. The NatureEye. I wonder if the photos we took during the flight, if those have uploaded yet or not. So just double check those. I'll do a couple things and then I'll probably head out. Of course, you can watch the rest of this play out on this webcam feed. You just won't have me droning on in your ear. Yeah, it looks like those photos are still being processed. I imagine they're quite busy um, flying drones all over the place right there. So maybe at a future time, I'll show those photos, whatever Johan took, and share those with you. Let's see. Sometimes the webcam stalls and you got to just reboot it. Yeah, and it really does look, especially on this view, that the that lava flow is pretty close to, if not on the road directly in front of this house here. So I know the view's a little bit wonky, but this may be if we have the first impact on any sort of structure, it's either going to be this house or this one. And remember, sometimes it doesn't even, the lava doesn't even have to touch the house. Sometimes the just the adjacent heat from the lava is enough to catch some structures on fire. We'll go back to this view. Yeah, so I might stay on for, excuse me, my voice is a little shot, for another couple minutes, and then we'll close out the live stream. But appreciate all those that have jumped on here. Um, Appreciate the people who have liked it to help me promote the geology education that I'm so passionate about. Um, this obviously isn't the sort of circumstances that I'd want to be sharing geology with people, but it is sort of what it is. And Joe is telling me that the White House directly by the lava flow is already burning. I kind of suspected that the last time we looked at the view. Um, I just didn't want to say anything, but it looked like, yeah, some of that looks like it's starting to, yeah, it's starting to catch on fire. So that's unfortunate. Let me see if the other view, this one's a little bit more clear, I think. Yeah, I think you can see some of the at the roof here. It's a little hard to tell because, yeah, I think it's starting to catch on fire for sure. I agree. So that may be the first house to go, unfortunately. Someone's asking if I still plan on going on my trip in May. Yeah, absolutely. This is just a small part of Iceland, and we'll have to see what happens. Obviously, if I can witness an eruption, that's always great. This one may not be that accessible, at least the way it is right now. They're probably, because you got the town involved, they're very likely keeping people away, and there's still a little bit of a hazard there. Oh yeah, someone's saying that it may have gone over the top of the berm. Could be. That could be. It's looks like it's spilled over the berm. I kind of suspected that earlier, and I mentioned that. And now it's burning up some of the roadway. And so now we've got this main flow. These berms are good ideas, and they're worth taking a shot at. But how high, and they built these things pretty high. The one by the Blue Lagoon, I showed you guys that from like the ground level, and that thing was a solid 10 meters or so tall. Um, but the lava can, if it's persistent, if you have enough lava, and you can see how thick this flow lobe is, right? Like how tall this is from the ground. This is pretty high. And what's happened here is the lava's just built up this channel to the point that it's overtopped the berm, and now it looks like it's coming down the other side of the road. Yeah, they're zooming in on it now, and now it's starting to burn the asphalt, and that's what's making it so black there. Um, Luckily, they've got all the equipment out of the way. It looks like there's just some boxes or some supplies, whatever that is, but the mobile equipment, the trucks and stuff, have been moved out of the way. And so if the flow starts moving this way, it's hard to say what the preferential path will be moving forward. It's still, most of the flow is moving to the right or to the west, but it's possible that it develops and establishes a channel along the roadway down to the south. So it's not looking good. It's not looking good at all. You can see the black smoke again from the and the flames. So that's something burning. That's actually the asphalt and maybe some of the construction equipment they had to leave behind that's actually burning. Um, and then we have at the same time, we also have the house there as well. So just going back to the house, this one doesn't let you zoom. I mean, the house hasn't caught on fire yet, but it does look from this vantage point like it's being impacted by the heat to some degree. Yeah, and I don't know if the webcam, be nice if they could swing. I mean, I know they're trying to get a lot into the view there, but I'm interested to see how far this flow is going off to the right. And again, big thanks to Lisa R, who's volunteered to serve as moderator. I usually haven't needed a moderator, and so I appreciate her jumping on and helping out. Yeah, let me see if I can. Has there been many earthquakes in the last hour or so? No, I don't think there's been any earthquakes. I can double check that real quick here. Oh, I might have closed that window down, but we can open one back up real quick. Yeah, earthquakes. Yeah, nothing. Not much. That's the last hour. So there's a point 0.8 at 5 kilometers depth, point 0.6, so very small quakes. And then, of course, when you add in, the last 24 hours, it's going to go crazy, right? Like, boom, there you go. So there's the earthquakes that were involved as the magma pushed into the dike, lengthened the dike, probably widened the dike a little bit too to generate this many earthquakes through the system, especially this far south. That was involved in the events of, I guess, last night and early this morning. And then since this thing's been erupting over the last few hours, you can see just the incredible paucity or lack of earthquakes during that time. So that fissure is still active. And then going back to this view. So now we've got so now there's a little breakout here. So these channels can be established. A little bit of lava dynamics, I suppose, here. Quick little lecture. So the lava channel establishes usually levees. So as it cools along the sides, it's moving slower along its margins, so it cools more quickly, and those can kind of build up a little bit. But occasionally, as the lava is moving through the channel, you can get the lava breaching the levee and then spilling out. And that looks like what we have going on right here in the foreground of this flow is we have a lava breakout, and this is moving some of the lava, in this case, to the, I guess, northwest. So we have an active lobe. You can see how much brighter orange that section of the flow is, so it's much hotter. It's moving much more easily. Oh, now they're switching back over to the fissure system. A little bit of wind there. I think that's what's shaking it, is just the breeze. And when you zoom in, even minor movements of the camera make it look shakier. Yeah, still looks like the lava's almost on the roadway, but the view, I wish we had a top-down view. The house is still there. I mean, it hasn't caught on fire yet, so that's good news. But I mean, as this continues to erupt, it's gonna send more of that lava. Some of it's come off this little lobe here to the west or southwest, but I think the lion's share of that lava is moving to the south and feeding this lobe here. Yeah, what I'd like to see is what the here we go. Maybe they're going to show the leading edge of this flow. Oh, there it is right there on the very edge of your screen, just above my head, is the leading edge of the flow along the berm, looks like to me. And so over the course of this live stream, since we've been doing this for a couple hours, I mean, this flow was well away. It was back by the greenhouse, I think, when I got on. It wasn't even all quite to the greenhouse, and we watched it advance in front of the greenhouse, take out the road, take out the pipeline, and now it's overtopped the berm. And we've got a nice little breakout from the channel right here in the foreground. It's filling in this low area. You really do get a sense of the topography though, right? I hope that you're seeing kind of down here where the moss is, and the top of this channel, this levee, is maybe like 5 to 8 meters, something like that. Like, so it can be substantial. And we know these berms. I don't think they had put this one up as high as 10 meters, but that was the design eventually was to be that high. But it was probably at least 3 to 5 meters tall. So, and now we've got it coming over the top of the berm here. Yeah, I got a couple folks sending me some things, so let me look at that really quick. Oops, sorry. Put that back in for you. Refresh that for you. Looks like Amanda Joe sent me something about them saving some of the equipment. Um, yeah, there's like a video of them moving some of the big trucks and heavy equipment out ahead of the advancing flow. Let me show you this. It's probably worth watching. So here them kind of rolling out down the road, getting out of harm's way, and then at some point, I think, yeah, they turned back. Oh wow, look at the lava in the rearview mirror. Yeah, this was obviously much earlier when it was still dark, or like towards sunrise. There's the flow right there, creeping towards them. So thanks for sending that. Well, shoot. Not good. Yeah, so it sounds like someone saying that one of the media outlets reported, whoops, one house, probably that white one, that's been damaged. Not sure. Yeah, anything I say that comes from the live chat, we just don't know for sure. Someone's asking, should be berms be built taller further downstream? I mean, it's kind of like it's no different than when we build seawalls in like hurricane prone regions. There's a nice view of like the the whole scene, right? We can see the upper fissure, the lower fissure, the lava flow, and the berm. The greenhouse is still there. But yeah, like how high is high enough, right? When you build a 5 meter tall seawall to protect you from tsunamis, and then there's a 6 meter tsunami, right? Like it's hard to know exactly how tall these things should be built. And I think everyone readily admitted that the berms weren't foolproof completely. And we're seeing that. I mean, right now the greenhouse has been protected, so that's great. But we've also seen further down here, and I wonder because the lava flow had to like ride up, where we have these roadways, we have like a little bit of an embankment there, so the lava had to ride up onto that embankment, and that might have maybe raised the level of the channel. Who knows? But like for whatever reason, the channel breakout occurred over the levee right there, and now we've got some of that lava spilling over onto the south side of the berm and moving down the roadway. We've got this breakout lobe here, the main flow front here along the berm, still heading to the west, and then the fissure system that's closest to the house over here. So has it reached the town yet? I would say yeah. Like it's right there on the doorstep, but we haven't seen wholesale lava inundating the whole community just yet. Um, Let me go to a couple more things here. I know I said I was going to sign off, and then this is how it goes. I just get sucked in. Um, the high windows on that big concrete house are gone. I don't know if I could see that far into that. Um, yeah, hard to say. I mean, I don't doubt anything that people are saying about the house. There's like some little reflections right there. I mean, yeah, whether it's 10 minutes ago now or an hour from now, I think the the fate of that house is most likely set in stone, unfortunately. Let me go to Let's go back to the other camera for a bit. And then I just want to look at a couple more things. Couple more things here. And I appreciate folks for joining me here. I don't feel like I'm doing a great job because I feel like I've been a little tired, a little scattered, and as much as we think we're good at multitasking, we're not. So like operating all the windows and all these things, it's been a little bit overwhelming. Um, but let's see, someone sent me. Sending out a quick email. Sorry, team. Okay. Just sending Lisa a quick email. There's apparently a camera zoomed into that's got a little better view of the house that we've been kind of interested in. So we'll see if we can get that up real quick here. Let's see. What are the chances of the lava flowing to the ocean? Asked Brett. Um, Pretty good. I mean, you can see the distance there from at least this lower fissure to the harbor is probably, I mean, I'm guessing that's like a kilometer, right? Let's do a quick little measurement. We've got the flow is pretty much, let's see, which house is it we're looking at here? Is it, I think it's this house over here. Yeah. I think there's a house built on this lot that didn't show up here. So what's the distance from the leading edge of that flow front down to the harbor? It's a little less than a kilometer. So to answer your question, Brett, very likely that it gets down to the coast, and the water, which it presents another set of hazards. So when the lava goes into the ocean, you can get all that some of that water flashing to steam. It can generate some problems with gases. It can become somewhat explosive, and we could be producing a little bit more ash. Now, there's a difference between lava flows going into the ocean and a volcanic vent opening up in the ocean. A volcanic vent in the ocean is the worst of the two scenarios in terms of explosivity and how destructive it is. Um, but a lava flow going into the ocean presents like another set of hazards. Um, the lava will cool quickly with the seawater, but it doesn't stop it there. It will continue to advance out into the ocean. Um, let's see, a couple more questions. And I apologize, I have not been able to look at the chat much. Someone's confirming 100% that the lava is now inside of Grindavik. I would agree with that. Thanks for sending that, Justin. Let's see what else here. Yeah, some of the lava is going out onto the road. Uh, yeah, people telling me happy anniversary. Appreciate that. There's a drone ban. Didn't know about that. The fissures beyond the valley you point out earlier where the lava wasn't even yet. Yeah, yep. Um, Ghost in a Bottle says the lava slowed a little when it hit the road. Someone's saying if you put the live earthquake map on 12 hours, there's 4 mini clusters of quakes, one where the first rift is, second where the new mini rift is, one in the center of town and one to the south. All right, let's see if we can do that. So, so open up the earthquake map for the last 12 hours. Is that what they're asking me to do? And then look at the clusters of quakes. Let me get it all centered here. Yeah, I think I do see what you're saying there. 4 mini cluster quakes, one where the first rift is, that would be further to the north. Um, then there's a second one here. That's kind of where that fissure opened up. And there's kind of a scattered one here, and then a more dense one here. So again, remember a lot of times the magma is advancing down like a pre-existing fracture system, they can push apart the rocks and behave a bit like a pair of scissors opening up so they can propagate. And some of these quakes, I mean, there's that 3.5, there's almost a 3, there's a different 3.5. And so the bigger quakes were down here. Interesting. Doesn't mean necessarily that the magma has moved down there, but it's pretty suggestive. So thanks for sending that along. Um, what was your name? Rukai? Are there flames on the webcam at the top of the picture in the industrial complex towards the top? I don't think there's any flames. Like, are they talking about this area over here? Don't know. Pete Barlow, I'm not sure. I don't see anything. The flow is getting active again. I see the red at the leading edge. Whoops. We zoom back out. Yeah, so it's just hotter right there. It's still active. And you can see the channel up here by the greenhouse. It's still pumping a lot of lava into the system. Uh, Someone says a report, the new fissure 50, 100 meters from the town and lava has started to flow just a few meters away. The length of the crack is about 150 meters, but could be longer. How long after the eruption do people have to wait before returning? I think we're way too early to answer that question, but interesting thought. Um, let's see, what will happen when the lava flows down the crack in town with a lot of water at the bottom? Yeah, so the fracture or the crack that the worker unfortunately fell into. I mean, we're still a long ways from the lava getting to wherever that is. I know it's by a house somewhere, kind of in the central part of town. So we've got a ways to go to get the lava to that place. But we know that we do have these cracks or fractures in town. A lot of them have water at the bottom of them. Um, but it's probably not enough water to be something. I doubt that any of the lava water interaction, especially in town, is going to be like super explosive and destructive. You could get some local spattering, and as that water flashes to steam, it might throw out more chunks of lava or ash, some finer material, but it's not going to like ream out like a bigger crater or something sort of crazy in that regard. I think the big if it gets to the ocean, if especially if you have like a nice cohesive channel that's got a clear path to the ocean, that would be different. Like in Hawaii, it will build out, that lava will build out into the ocean, but because it's glass and quenched lava, it's somewhat unstable. And so sometimes it can build like a delta out into the ocean, a lava delta, but then it's prone to some collapse. We've seen that a lot in Hawaii. Um, and that's a place where you don't want to be. You don't want to have anyone near where that lava ocean entry zone is. But we'll see if we get to that point. So, yeah, some people might be seeing sunlight reflections off of some of the buildings, um, in the way of some of the things they're seeing there. And let's see if we can, let's look at the other camera real quick here. Yeah, hard to say, but gosh, it looks like it's it looks like it's on the road based on just my eyes. Looks like that lava flow is on the road and is probably very close to the front of this house as we still kind of look at this house over here. A little hard to say because you're seeing it somewhat obliquely. And I'd still like to see, I mean, this is important to see this view because this is where the town and the action is, but I'd like to see what the eruptive behavior looks like of the rest of the fissure system that's sort of back to the left or almost behind us here. Okay, a couple more questions in the chat, and then I think I've been at it now for, have I really been here almost 3.5 hours? Whoa, time warp. That's pretty crazy. Let's hear your question. Will we maybe get some explosion craters in town when the lava reaches water down the cracks? Yeah, I kind of mentioned that. I don't think so because I don't think you've got enough water. There's so much more lava. But initially, when you get that lava water interaction, you could get very small, localized explosive events, but not like, again, not like we're going to like generate a crater or pit right there. Um, yeah, and thanks again to Lisa. I'm seeing some good things that people are liking having the moderator there. I apologize I didn't have one set up beforehand. Never needed one before because I've always been kind of a small time live streamer, but yeah, it's helpful to have folks to kind of moderate that. So thank you to her. Appreciate it. Let's see. Okay, I'll give you, yeah, I'm going to cut it off for sure at 7:30 my time, so 4 more minutes. Um, and I'm sure I will jump back on some point. I don't know. Again, it's my anniversary today, so I think we were going to take our kids to dinner and do some other things, but I'm sure we'll figure something out. Like they know this is kind of big for me, and um, so might be on later. I don't know. We'll have to see how it all goes. There's a .8 quake in the harbor. That's a small cluster. Yeah, so for Elaine and those just jumping on, good morning. Good morning to my Western Hemisphere friends in America or Canada or Mexico or South America or wherever you may be in the Caribbean, elsewhere. Um, the quick update is that the eruption began. Well, let me just go to the Met Office thing. Can't remember what time it was now. Let's find it real quick here, so we can give them a nice complete update on everything. Okay, so the eruption began at, well, obviously overnight. Okay, so local time, it started at 7:57, so just before 8 a.m. local time in Iceland. You can work out what that would be for you. So for me, here on Mountain Standard Time, that would have been 1 a.m. my time. And the eruption location started out, let me just go to this real quick. So if you've already been on for a while, just humor me while I kind of get some of our friends up to date. So we had a flurry of earthquake activity last night and early this morning along that northeast southwest trend. Most of it was around Hagafeld, so this little hill right here, and some also further south near Grindavik. That activity intensified. This is a seismic activity from 2:30 in the morning to 6:30, and so you can see those earthquakes, the swarms. I think the biggest one was around a 3.5 or so. So bigger quakes than we've seen in the past. The seismic or the hazard map was updated because they were seeing earthquakes closer into town. And that all reached ahead and culminated in an eruption, again, that began around 8 a.m. Along this red line right here. So again, the town is just south of the map. This is the big hill, Thorbjorn. I know I pronounced that wrong, sorry. The Blue Lagoon and the power plant are up here, and they're partly enclosed by the berms, which are shown in orange. Hagafeld is this hill right here. And so we had this eruption open up along this fissure. Unfortunately, part of the fissure was south of the berm or the wall that they had built up around Grindavik. A second fissure, and so here's some pictures real quick out the helicopter of the fissures just probably a few minutes or so after they got going. But then we had a second one open up. So we had this long fissure here. Here's the houses in the town. But a second fissure opened up much further down the trend here. And we were live streaming with the drone when that occurred. So we actually were able to see this vent more or less initiate, or very close to its initiation point. And we actually watched it lengthen over time. That fissure system and that vent is feeding now a lava flow that is encroaching some of these homes in this area and has reportedly already impacted at least one house, with possibly more to come. At the same time, the fissures and the lava erupting from the fissure system up here, a lot of it flowed along the berm, past the greenhouse, which is this little building right here, over the road, over the pipeline, and is approximately about this area right now. Um, as it built up more material, it did flow over the top of the berm and is now headed down the roadway there. And so I can show you that when we get back to the live cam here in a second. So that's sort of where we're at. So here's the berm. Let me update this real quick. So I'll provide one last little update here. So there's that lower fissure system that is very close to some of these houses. So this is probably our number one concern in terms of infrastructure. And then maybe equally important is this lava flow, which has taken out the north-south road into Grindavik and also taken out the pipeline. And you can see it's moving along the berm there. It's actually spilled over the top of the berm, and this brown smoke is from the lava flow burning the asphalt along the roadway. So you can see that on both sides of the roadway, on the north side and on the south side. And so we have this active flow front moving along the berm to the west. We have this, let's see if we can zoom in, this fissure system that's, if it hasn't already impacted at least these two homes, it will very soon, and possibly more. And then we know we had some large quakes further south towards the water, and so we're waiting to see, is that it in terms of vents, or are other vents going to open up? And right now it's just a little too early to tell. What this view doesn't show, because it's sort of behind and to the left, is a probably maybe 1 to 2 kilometer long fissure system that's actively erupting lava. This one's actually much smaller than the other one that we saw earlier with the drone flight. So for Elaine and others just kind of getting up and going for the day, that's the situation so far. And I'm hoping to cover this a little bit more, but I've been up for 4 hours, and it is my wife and I's anniversary. So I'm going to think about Grindavik today, but I'm going to go spend some time with her and our kids. And I'll keep checking on this. I might live stream later. We'll just kind of have to see how things go. But for sure, expect something from me tomorrow, if not sooner. So I'll try to provide some updates as best I can. And I appreciate you joining me here. There's lots of places you can go to tune into Iceland news. And I appreciate you choosing to follow my live stream and get my insights and share this with me. And I appreciate all the people in the comments that have given nice, really helpful and productive and insightful comments or more information. It takes a village, right? This isn't just my channel. This is me and all of you together learning about geology, learning in this case about Iceland and its eruptions, and also still feeling bad and having quite a bit of sympathy for the people in Iceland and the people in Grindavik. So we'll continue to monitor the situation, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. But thanks so much for your patronage, for your viewership. Make sure you like the channel just so we can promote geology education. I'm super passionate about that. And we'll just see where this goes. But take care. Be strong, Iceland, and we'll see you guys soon. Thanks so much.